And people between the Kinimiki and Bafia on the Yaoundé-Bafoussam Highway, President Paul Biya dispatched an interministerial delegation to comfort the victims. Tara, the mascot of the African Nations Championship, begins a tour of host cities in Yaoundé today with a foretaste of the continental soccer event. And Central Africans go to the polls today in spite of skirmishes orchestrated by rebels to deter voters from their civic duties. The details right now. Thanks for watching the 7:30 news on CRTV. I am Moki Edwin Kinzaka in Yaoundé.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
39 people have died and 18 others injured in a bus crash between the Kinimiki and Bafia in the Mbam and Inubu division of the Central Region. Informed of the tragedy, President Paul Biya dispatched an interministerial delegation made up of Territorial Administration Minister Paul Atanganji and Transport Minister Jean-Ernest Messina-Ngale Bibehe to the scene. Ebenezer Kanga accompanied the interministerial delegation and brought back this report.
The casualties of the accident are very heavy. 37 deaths on the spot, 2 in the hospital, making a total of 39, with 18 injured, 12 of them in critical conditions. Informed of the tragedy, the head of state dispatched an interministerial mission made up of the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, and that of Transport, Jean-Ernest Messina-Ngale Bibehe, to the scene of the accident.
This drastic accident was announced to the head of state today around 3 o'clock in the morning. And by 5 o'clock, President Paul Biya, head of state, gave instructions that an interministerial mission should go and see exactly what happened. We have come here first and foremost to extend the heartfelt condolences of President Paul Biya to the bereaved families, and also the wish of the head of state that the wounded should be treated quickly.
The accident occurred on this bridge in the locality of Nomale around Dikenmiki when a 57-seater bus belonging to a Veni agency traveling from the west region to Yaoundé overturned and fell in a ravine. All the corpses were taken to Yaoundé, as well as the injured, except 3 of them who are still in the Dikenmiki district hospital. The tragic accident has occurred even as the Ministry of Transport is carrying out a special road safety campaign dubbed End of Year Feasts Without Accidents.
As you heard in Ebenezer Kanga's report, a 70-seater bus crashed into a gutter while trying to avoid a crowd of people that were offering assistance to yet victims of another accident. Tabot Nicholas Egbe also visited the accident site.
Accident happened at 3 a.m. at a bridge at Nomale, which shares boundary with the Fante, 12 kilometers from the Kinminiki and 47 kilometers from Mafia.
So we have 20 men, 10 women, 3 babies and 1 children. 39 wounded has been transferred to the hospital of Makenene. So we got information that 3 of them has died also. So we have now 37 person who died in this road accident.
A very fatal accident that has claimed the lives of 37 Cameroonians. We were informed about this accident that took place in the early hours of this morning around 2:30 a.m. and we did mobilize our security forces, the State Council, and we did call elements of the firefighting brigade who came to retrieve the corpses that were entrenched in the car that we see by the roadside.
The corpses have been transported to Yaoundé, while the injured persons have been taken to the hospital at Ndikiminiki.
As yet in that report, the death toll has increased to 39. It was 37 this morning. And faced with road accidents registered daily on the Cameroonian highways during the current end-of-year period, the National Gendarmerie has intensified its road safety campaign on the major axes. Kilian Dandifon followed the National Gendarmerie Road Safety Task Force on National Route Number 2 and reports that the number of accidents will drastically reduce if human error is controlled.
70% of accidents on the highways are caused by human error. The case of the one on the Yaoundé-Bafoussam road.
You just need to regulate speed on the road. You also have to use seat belts.
On the Yaoundé-Bolova-Yaoundé-Sangmelima axis this weekend, human and mechanical offenses are controlled by the gendarmerie to avoid similar accidents.
Je veux voir. I want to see that driver has done the same thing. The road is empty and free. The radar simply films your car and its number plate and sends to us.
Disrespect of the highway code can be fatal.
Your insurance is not valid because you don't have a roadworthiness certificate. We will impound your vehicle.
Responsible behavior on the road is the only way out of fatal accidents.
Last respects have been paid to the departed traditional ruler of Bitang near Bafia in the central region. Mourners described Chief Mwama Amethong as an exemplary leader generations will miss. Tabot Nicholas Egwe reports from Crtv Center.
It was an impressive number of people who turned out at Bitang Bafia village Saturday to pay their last respect to the departed traditional authority. Colleagues, friends and authorities, as well as family, described the deceased as a man of outstanding qualities.
My father was an example for me. He gave me many reasons to believe that life is when you work hard. If you work hard, you will have what you need. You will have all that you want.
The ceremony, which was void of any traditional manifestations, was chaired by the DO for Kiki, Madame Grace Mejo. His Majesty Nwangweng Amentong worked for the former Basic Bank and was the ruler of Bitang Bafia clan for 31 years. He leaves behind 3 wives and a score of children to mourn him.
The official mascot of the 2020 African Nations Championship, Tara, today started a tour of different towns to host the Continental Championship. The tour intends to physically and psychologically prepare the populations of towns to host the tournament. Boarding Sama reports that the ceremony was a foretaste of what will happen when Chan kicks off in about 3 weeks from now.
The 2020 African Nations Championships official mascot, Stava, is triumphantly received in Yaoundé, telling signs the country is simply waiting for the start of the competition. During a brief ceremony at the Multipurpose Sports Complex, Sports and Physical Education Minister, Professor Narcisse Mwele Kombi, explains the importance of this tour, that of taking the official mascot closer to the population. Different groups representing the 4 cultural regions of Cameroon spiced the day as the official mascot left the Multipurpose Sports Complex and rode to some neighborhoods of Yaoundé. As the official mascot toured some neighborhoods in Yaoundé, anxious Cameroonians turned out to have a feel of how the mascot looks like.
Good things are going soon to start. That's why we decided to launch this mascot tour, which will cover all the various sites where the competition will take place. So it just will tell Cameroonians that we are ready to offer to the African population a fantastic show.
The official mascot tour to the different towns concerned with the African Nations Championship continues this Tuesday in the nation's economic capital, Douala.
Rehearsals for the opening and closing ceremonies of the African Nations Championship have been taking place in Yaoundé. The exercise, to involve 500 persons, will showcase Cameroon's cultural diversity and its pride as a leading continental football powerhouse. It is coordinated by the Animation and Cultural Manifestation Commission of the local organizing committee. Details with Romeo Kenye.
Close to 500 persons will be involved in the choreographic displays of the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2020 Shan. In the different sites to host the competition, rehearsals have been ongoing for months now. The exercise has been coordinated by different local site presidents.
The Animation and Cultural Manifestation Committee is charged with general animations concerning this competition, be it animation on the stadium, be it animation on the fan zones, and most importantly, the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony.
To better blend Cameroon's rich cultural diversity and showcase its dynamism in celebrating Africa via football, practice has been taking place in shift.
This time we'll be talking about 400 to 500 participants as compared to 2016 that we had about, say, 2,000 persons. The rehearsals are already in place. They are working, about 150 of them now, to make Cameroon mark the history of organization in terms of events management.
Officials of the Animation and Cultural Manifestation Commission say all this has been taking place with the aid of some partners.
Despite the pitfalls engendered in 2020 by COVID-19, President Paul Biya in the course of the year took decisions that have guaranteed a steady economy. The presidential decisions also consolidated the basis of Cameroon's economic development. Chief Unity Palace correspondent Ashu Nyente tells us more.
President Paul Biya has often held that Cameroon's economy is resilient because the fundamentals of the economy are good. Throughout this year, he has striven to consolidate the country's major economic pillars, despite the difficulties inherent in an economy partially affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. He has taken decisions that have opened new possibilities and brightened fresh business perspectives. This year, the President has ratified the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. The papers of ratification were deposited in Addis Ababa on the 1st of December this year, and Cameroon becoming the 33rd country to do so. This action by the President of the Republic puts 1.5 billion consumers up for grabs by Cameroonian business people. This move is coming at a time when Cameroon's comparative advantage in the production of raw materials and basic commodities will attract investors from different horizons. This pull factor will, no doubt, create job opportunities for the youth and increase wealth and income. Another spin-off of this ratification is that Cameroon's economy will take on other aspects of modernity and be diversified to meet the needs of the more enlarged market. Besides, the competitive edge of domestic companies will be sharpened. It is in order to guarantee this multiplier effect that earlier in the year, the President gave instructions for a sane preparation of the 2021 state budget to take into account the need to gradually cut back on the budget deficits, at least in the medium term. The budget had to also give priority to the completion of major infrastructural projects, the 3-year emergency plan, as well as accelerate growth. These major directives were indeed taken into consideration when the final draft budget was brought to Parliament for debate and adoption. Little wonder that President Paul Biya signed the adopted bill into law on December 17, 2020. It is therefore evident that under the clairvoyant guidance of the head of state, Cameroon, based on its economic yardsticks, is resolutely on the steady path towards emergence.
Christians of the Église Catholique Orthodox in Yaoundé have prayed to God to grant wisdom to President Paul Biya to continue to keep Cameroon in one piece. This was during a special church service to thank the President for granting the church legal existence. President Paul Biya was represented. Once more, Ashu Nyente.
It is on the arrival of the personal representative of President Paul Biya, one of his closest collaborators, the minister, director of the civil cabinet, Samuel Mbonda Yolo, that the praises, thanks and adoration get into gear at the Église Catholique Orthodox in the Ekie neighborhood in Yaoundé. In a congregation packed full like an egg, with the governor of the central region, Naseri Paul Biya, also in attendance. They have a reason to rejoice. This church is celebrating the issuance of their authorization to operate by the head of state, in a decree signed in August this year after 20 years of existence. This is an event to be happy about and to thank God for. The authorization to operate given to the church underscores the constitutional prescription that Cameroon is a secular state in which all religions are allowed to coexist in perfect harmony while respecting the laws of the land. In his homily, the Metropolitan Primate of the Church, Mathieu de Jesus, called on Christians to implore the Almighty Father to shower President Paul Biya with grace and continue to bestow wisdom on him to guide Cameroon to the path of peace and development, protect his wife Chantal Biya, and give energy to the government. He says Cameroonians should rally around their president, show love to one another, and preach peace to all. In the midst of the traditional order of the Mass, the congregation sends a message of prayer for Cameroon to know no strife, a message Samuel Mbondo Ayolo is only too glad to take back to his principal.
Inmates of the Bamenda Central Prison have been urged to consider their detention time as a stepping stone to better days. The Archbishop of Bamenda, His Grace Andrew Kmer, was speaking during a church ceremony in which some inmates received baptism. Julius Neba reports from Bamenda.
Comforting the inmates of the Bamenda Central Prison, His Grace Andrew Kmer reminded them that they should consider their stay in the prison a stepping stone to better days ahead, because God has a reason for everything that happens in life. After the baptism, the prelate then handed each of them a lighted candle with a clear message.
Those who came into this community as Saul, they should live as Paul. They should, in their own way, contribute to the restoration of peace in our community, both inside the prison community and the community outside the prison and in our country in general.
The 7 inmates who were baptized and 4 others who received confirmation promised they will not relent in their pursuit of the fruit of the Holy Spirit.
I believe God will also give me that grace to win more souls. I'm so happy for the grace that God has shared.
To their request of a workshop that will keep particularly the elderly, women and the youth busy and productive during their stay in prison, His Grace Andrew Kmer promised that by the end of 2021, the Archdiocese will see into it that their workshops are appropriately equipped. He left the inmates of the Bamenda Central Prison with a message of peace and Christmas.
Caritas of the Eucharistic Mothers of the Monastery of Our Lady of the Benedictions of Mount Phoebe have reached out to some underprivileged persons in the nation's capital. The gesture, which coincided with the Feast of the Holy Family, was aimed at assisting this group of persons during this end of year. Gerard Nanji Eyambe reports.
The challenges faced by underprivileged persons appear disturbingly similar. In order to put smiles on their faces, especially during this end-of-year period, mothers of the Monastery of Our Lady of the Benedictions of Mount Phoebe have donated foodstuff and other items to them.
It has been a pleasure sharing with the underprivileged during this end-of-year period. Charity has a great role in our association, given that faith without action is senseless.
The gesture, which coincided with the Feast of the Holy Family, saw the clergy calling on faithful to show solidarity with the needy.
It is the day of unity, the unity and the peace in the church, in all families. It is the day to help and others.
We are very glad for this action for Caritas.
I'm very happy for this donation. We use for the nutrition.
The beneficiaries in response expressed their appreciation through song and dance.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Our tour to the different regions of Cameroon today takes us to the west to find out what has become of the students tested positive of COVID-19 recently. Bodun Sama is at the Public Health Emergency Center and will be having a video chat with Professor George Enorok, Director of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital. Good evening, Bodun Sama, and over to you and your guests.
Good evening to you. Our tour to the different regions tonight takes us to the west region of Cameroon. After a few weeks ago, we reported cases of some students who were tested positive for COVID-19. We meet our guest tonight, Professor George Enorok. He is the director of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital to get the latest updates as concerns the case of these students and the coronavirus spread in that part of the country. Professor George Enorok, good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me down.
Tell us, after the last time we had you, we talked about the cases of some secondary school students who were tested positive for COVID-19 in the West region. What's the latest from that part of the country several weeks after?
Thank you, Baldwin. But just to refresh that, 14 students comprising 9 boys and 5 girls were tested positive for COVID-19 in a secondary school at the Penka Michel Health District. They were seropositive, but asymptomatic, and so immediately this was done, the students were isolated. They were isolated and followed up at home, and after 2 weeks of oral medication, all of them regained their health, and they were seroconverted. And they've since long gone back to their institutions.
Thank you so much, Professor George Enorok, for giving us those updates, reassuring updates as concerns the health of these students who were tested positive for COVID-19 in the West region of Cameroon. We remind our viewers that you are the director of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital, and by anticipation, we want to wish you a happy New Year 2021.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's the latest updates from the West region of Cameroon. We shall be continuing our tour to the different regions next weekend. Back to you.
Thanks, Bodun Sama. Now, our newsroom today is focusing on marriages, a holy union between a man and a woman recommended by the Bible, the Holy Quran, and the laws of Cameroon. Besides the bride and the groom, one important person very present at weddings is the bridesmaid. These ladies, usually beautifully dressed to accompany the bride, play an important role in the success of the wedding ceremonies. Who are they? How are they selected? And what is their role? Cynthia Saptola.
They are usually the prettiest ladies surrounding the bride on her wedding day. These maids of honor, or bridesmaids, have a role to play, one which usually begins during the preparations.
Our role today is to accompany our mother so that she should be happy, she should enjoy her day.
Though they obviously add color to the ceremony, their duty is to get the bride dressed and calm and ensure that everything runs smoothly.
Everybody helps me, so maybe I'm the wife, the more blessed of the day.
Valuable assets to these brides, but also to the grooms who appreciate their input more.
They were in charge of the decorations. They danced during the ceremony. They gave a glamorous image to the event.
But not all couples seem to be in need of the services of maids of honor. To them, the day is about the union, nothing else matters.
There were families, friends, my wife. It was enough for me and for her, I hope.
Yeah. For those who care to have these bridesmaids, this is the effect often sought.
Couples say renting and decorating luxury and prestigious cars take up a good chunk of the wedding budget. It is also a source of income for the many car rental agencies in major towns of the country. Ewanepule reports on the classes of wedding cars and the prices to pay at car hire services.
When it comes to flamboyance and showing off at weddings, one of the first things Cameroonians consider is renting good wedding cars.
We have many cars at our disposal that we give out for weddings, and the prices they vary according to the mark of the car. If, for example, if we take a car like a Prado, we'll give them with a driver for 150,000. We have other smaller cars like Toyota cars or Mercedes cars. We can give those ones for 50,000. Limousine, we give it for VIP weddings. And limousine ranges from 250 to 300,000. If the car gets bad, we fix our car because it is inside the package.
Some couples take it to the extreme with their wedding using a convoy of 25 high-end luxury cars. Funds are also allocated to beautify the wedding vehicle.
Of vehicles, it depends on the client. If the client chooses an expensive decoration which includes natural flowers, then we give it to him, but we add accessories that increase the decor, that make it more beautiful. They vary from 10,000 francs and above.
Cameroonians hold that the renting and decoration of wedding cars takes up the majority of the wedding budget.
The Yaoundé annual end-of-year festival Yafe is drawing to an end with no incident reported this far, thanks to the strict control by the security forces. The National Gendarmerie and the police have deployed human and material resources that filter entry and exit from the ceremonial ground. Anglophone reports.
3 phases of security deployment at the Yaoundé Feast Yafe. First, security of persons and goods.
The command car is here, and the dispositive of the scanning, which permit us to take some dangerous tools.
In addition of this command car, we also have the drones, which permit us to see areas that you cannot see from here.
The other phase is to ensure the respect of anti-COVID-19 measures.
We have a security dispositif and a sanitary dispositif.
Circulation is also an important part of the deployment with nothing left to chance.
We have organized circulation in such a way that everyone is searched. Everyone converges towards the 2 entries here and is searched.
The police and the National Gendarmerie are on the guard.
The 2020 presidential and legislative elections in the Central African Republic have effectively taken place amidst skirmishes in 3 areas of the country. Armed men fired guns indiscriminately to deter the population from their civic duties. Caroline Okeanoma reports from Bangui that the incident did not stop a majority of voters from voting.
Mission accomplished for the incumbent President Faustin Archange Touadéra, the National Election Authority here in Central Africa, and the international community who were adamant that come December 27, 2020, the over 1.8 million registered electors will go out and vote.
The elections in Central Africa are the most important thing for the consolidation of democracy. They're what the people deserve. That's what they want. So anybody who's trying to block the elections or block the people trying to go to vote, they should know that that behavior is not acceptable.
Today, many people in many cities, like Bozoum, like Bukaranga, like Boa, like a part of Bambari, Bria, they cannot go and choose their local representatives nor the President of the Republic.
Unfortunately, it is not really a good day for everybody.
Like in most electoral process, it was not hitch-free.
There have been a few difficulties in some of the towns this morning with armed groups resorting to intimidation and shooting to scare the population. Things have calmed down.
Overall, the population turnout in their numbers, especially women who constitute 46.6% of the entire population. All this thanks to a combined military and police operation under MINUSCA.
Some inhabitants of the city of Douala have expressed dissatisfaction with the timid celebration of the end-of-year feast, end-of-year feast including Christmas. However, many families turned out in various attraction sites and playgrounds to have colorful celebrations. Madon Kwele reports from Douala.
Jacques Fampo, aged 7, and Fampo Leah, 8 years old, are underprivileged kids residing in New Bel Bamileke in the Douala 2 subdivision. The joy of receiving their Christmas present was beyond measure.
I thank the mayor for this guitar. I am happy and will surely enjoy this Christmas season.
I am very happy for this gift from the mayor. She gave me a very great gift for Christmas.
Like them, over 450 other children who came from 33 neighborhoods of that area were also donated gifts from the mayor of Douala II, Denise Fampo. For 13 years, it has been one of her major priorities to put smiles on the faces of the less privileged kids during the end-of-year festivities.
Everything was fine, and next year will be much better. It is important to share the grace you receive with kids who have little or nothing in order to celebrate with other kids.
The Christmas tree party in the Douala II Town Hall that saw the presence of Father Christmas was characterized by dances from the children and their parents.
And that ends the 7:30 news on CRTV. Ata Badino Ma will be here in exactly 30 minutes for the news in the French language. And tomorrow you shall be in the company of Esther Kmer. I am Moki Edwin Kinzaka in Yaoundé. Thank you for watching.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing